Hey, I'm Eli.
And I'm Aiden. We're ex husbands, co parents, and proud dads to two beautiful daughters.
Join us as we navigate dating after divorce, co parenting, and redefining our relationship as friends.
Because even as exes, we're still better together apart.
Hello, and welcome to our first episode of our new podcast, Better Together Apart. We are ex husbands who've been together for 20 years, married for 16, and we separated over 2 years ago. We also have two daughters. We share custody and co parent together. We are proud to be good friends today, but getting there was not a smooth sailing. So, what drove us to do this podcast? I mean, you can expect to hear a lot more about our story in future episodes, but our mission with this podcast is to really talk about what many people need to face post breakup, especially when it happens later in life and after not being single for a while. Also, what happens if you still have kids with your ex? How do you navigate the new relationship between you and your ex husband? How do you co parent? How dating is different to being single today? And when was the last time you were single? Did we have smartphones when we were single back then, almost 20 years ago? No. And what are we actually looking for later in life experiences? I mean, how are things different than how it used to before we were married? I mean, even though we are a gay couple, many of our examples and stories from our own lives are also can be related to other people, not just gay relationships. And these dating stories and issues are universal for all types of couples. So many of you guys will get some insights and relate to a lot of the situations that we've been going through. Aiden, what do you think we want to accomplish with this podcast?
Hi, Eli.
Hello.
Happy to be here in our continuous podcast. I think it's a great topic to talk about. From my own experience, this one is really triggers many opinions. Um, once it comes about where do you live, who you live with, uh, it's an immediate tons of follow up questions.
Yeah, but for the people who do not know, we've been separated for over 2 years, but we are still living together with our two daughters. We're still living together, and I think this is a situation that many other couples who break up find themselves doing. And we wanted to talk today about what are those situations when, even after you break up with your boyfriend, partner, husband, wife, whoever that is, why do you choose to stay together?
So there could be many reasons for that. I can share with our viewers and listeners, how our train of thoughts came all about. For us, everything had to do with our daughters, right? So um, we used to be a very close knit, and we are still together now. But as before the separation, we were a very close knit uh, family. We went out a lot. We really spent a lot of family time with our daughters. So we knew that the announcement of breaking up would be a very difficult one. And you know, like us, like any other couple, also us, when we broke up, we had difficulties, we had challenges communicating, we had issues, but then it was very clear to us, very quickly. It was very clear to us that when kids are involved, their needs become either as important as our needs or more important as our needs. And um, we felt that the immediate next step that we need to do, we were mid school year. We said the immediate thing that we need to do is no change. No change. Let's do no change and then figure it out. So this was easy. No change. We stay together to live in the same place. We see how that works, how we can make it work. At that point in time, we did let our daughters know that we separated, that we are getting a divorce, and the romantic relationship between us has ended. But there is no change.
And I think it's important because we have been dealing with our own issues between us for a while. So we had the time to get used to the idea of eventually separating. But for our daughters, it was a shock. They needed to all of a sudden, realize, oh my God, our parents are separating. What does that mean about me? How am I going to be impacted? That's the first thing that a child will actually have in mind. And obviously, they were devastated. We explained to them that we will be happier as just friends and not as a couple. But for them, it's all about my family is breaking apart. Are we still going to have family vacations together? Are we going to already have to separate houses? Do I need to move from one dad to another? So I think what we did really, really well is first of all let them know nothing is going to change in the near future, because whatever happened between us and post breakup, we weren't at our best relationship even as friends. We had to leave that aside and make sure they feel safe, that they feel like nothing is going to happen to them at the beginning, and they have some time to get used to the idea of us being apart.
So one of the messages that I like sharing, when we'll have other topics in future podcasts, but when I'm talking to a boyfriend or someone who I'm dating with, um, I have like something that I'm telling them, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to share that with everyone here. So the way to say it is, when you love someone, when you have a boyfriend, when you have a husband, when you love someone, their needs become as important as your needs, right? That's like the key to uh, compromise, be dynamic, be adjustable. But when it comes to our daughters, their needs become higher than our needs, and that small nuance is the key to everything that we build on top of it. Once this was clear to us, everything was easy. Yes. Why do we need to move houses now? No. What they need with this announcement is first and foremost, at least for the first few months of the school year, is stability. And then from there we broke it down. Okay, how do we do it? How do we do it day to day? We made a statement. How do we do it? How do we, you know who do we have, like a do we apply the week off week on with the girls right now when we live together? How do we have dates? How each one of us can start building their own lives while living here? How can we not be jealous of one another, when someone is going out, when someone has dates? All these things uh, were derived from that initial statement.
So, a lot of couples, I'm sure, has been dealing with this, and a lot of couples also choose to stay together also because of financial reasons. Sometimes it's they separately you cannot afford living in two different houses. So some people do that because of financial reasons. Obviously, it helps financially, but I don't think
You know what helps more financially?
what
A throuple.
a throuple. No, you're right. We maybe should add a
I'm
third one.
telling you, that's
Yeah,
that's a
but
startup.
but it's not your startup because a lot of couples have been doing that
No,
already.
we need to bring another
No,
person.
that's true. No, but I think a lot of people, choose that. But I think if it's not a healthy environment for the kids and for the parents, it's not worth it. But I think in our case, we found a place between us and with the whole situation that it does work for us. But we also need to acknowledge that in some relationships where they have abusive relationships, that they something really bad happened, there was a really messy breakup, even though it's convenient for the kids and you have financial benefits or whatever it is, sometimes it's not the right decision to do that. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of living together with the kids. And by the way, sometimes people don't have kids and still staying together as roommates or as like good friends, but because maybe they're good as friends and they're good also financially, it's beneficial for them to stay together. But it still works out. So let's talk about the pros.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. It's like it's with us. It started from like a technical decision, right? We said, okay, we're gonna live together at the same place, but then we took it one step further and we said, you know what? For our daughters, let's redefine our relationship and be friends, right? So that's for us. This was amazing because we were able to find each other in a different perspective, in a different view.
It took us a while though.
Took us out. Yes.
Yeah, because you cannot just move from exes to friends right away. Also, when you're not living together, even though I'm good friends with some of my exes still, I wasn't good friends with them right away. Remember, one of my exes was actually at our wedding with his partner back then. But it took me a while till I was able to go from exes to friends.
Yeah. So I think it's a level of maturity, it's a level of intention, it's a level of what prioritizes. And for us, it was very easy because we um, appreciate us being parents and appreciate our daughters so much that for us there was no question. Okay, we wanted just the best for them. So we said, okay, it started with technicalities. Let's continue living together, and then we said, okay, you know what? But let's stay close as a family unit, regardless of what's gonna happen. You're gonna have a new husband. I'm gonna have a new husband. Let's make uh, let's try to find or choose each other daily, uh, uh, not romantically, but choose each other as co-parents, as friends.
Okay,
Okay.
so let's talk about the pros. So one pro that we can talk about already. We all talk about one pro is stability for the kids. And also, from our perspective, because we don't have a week off, a week on, you are with your kids all the time. It's not like you have a lot of distance from your kids for that long. So it is nice to still see your kids almost every day. So I think also for them it's stability. And also for us, we're seeing them a lot. So we're still kind of infused with their lives all the time. So that's one thing. Obviously, there's a financial reason which is very beneficial and it's convenient. Also, sharing responsibility with the household. I mean, you're not living by yourself. I mean, we still have each one their chores at home, so it also helps us with that. If I were living alone, all the household was only on me, and it's easy. And sometimes even in the morning when we need to drop the girls at school, pick them up, we can still like pretty much if something happens, you can take over, I can take over. There's a lot of conveniency in this, so it's great about that. And also it's easier communication because when you're living apart, you need to communicate with your ex. It's harder when you're not in the same household. Here, I can just shout it, Aiden, can you please take Demi to her class because I cannot do it right now. I'm busy. So it's easy. It's not all the toll falls on you at all times. Any other things I missed?
No, I think that's the keys, but it all comes with a cost, and
Of
that's the
course.
cons. But before the cost is for this to work, we need to have a good relationship
No,
between
of
us.
course.
Yeah.
And again, it took a while, and I think, and that with comes with the we're talking about the cost now, about the cons. I mean, there's still emotional challenges because when you break up, sometimes you still have feelings towards the other person, and then seeing them going on dates, meeting friends, having fun, having sex with others. I mean, this can really like impact you. Someone might, find a boyfriend first, then the other one's like, oh my god, he found a boyfriend that soon. I mean, how come he moved on so quickly and I'm still like crying and I'm still, I cannot find anyone, or I'm not even ready for a new relationship.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, there's still conflicts. I mean, we still fight sometimes. I mean, we fought as a couple, but we also fight as co-parents, and we still have some fights, and it is something that there's conflict sometimes, and we find ourselves having same conflicts that we used to have also as a couple in the same level.
So when we have conflicts, what do you think are the key or the magic that allow us to overcome those conflicts?
Also, I don't owe you a lot because you're not my partner anymore. So I'm not as invested emotionally as that you're my husband, and we have to make. But it actually comes from a friendship perspective. I think we fight better as friends than as a couple, and we fight way less obviously than we were a couple. But again, when you live together with someone, it can also be a roommate. I mean, when two people live in the same house, they might have conflicts, and they need to resolve those. Also, I think it makes our personal life complicated. How many guys have you dated that told you, "Oh, you live with your ex husband? That's weird. I don't think it's good for me dating someone like that."
100%. 100% started with this statement, but then it's very simple. I tell them how many people, or it usually starts with, oh, I never I never seen or never heard about exes who live together at the same household, and I follow up with that and say, how many gays did you meet that have a ex-husband and two teenager kids and family not nearby? And then when you present it that way, things do click better for most people.
Yeah.
It's still very adventurous. It's still very requires some forward thinking. But as long as I am confident with this is the best solution for our family, from here it's very easy to tackle anything that we need to.
Yeah, but also, let's say you're on a date and you want to end that date at your place. You cannot really bring someone to your own place right away because we kind of have also rules. Because I think it's also very important when you do choose to live together after a divorce or after a breakup, that you have very clear rules of what you can and cannot do to respect each other, and we don't just bring people home uh, after first second date. I mean, we brought guys home, but after we dated them for a while and after we've seen that we think there's a long term thing here. We don't just introduce our daughters to random people we meet or people we just had one or two dates with.
Yeah, and this is, I think, one of the biggest cons that you're not, fully free. Right? So what would be the alternative? The alternative would be that each one of us would be in their own place. Um, if in our case we have a week off, week on arrangement, co-parenting arrangement, and it would mean that, the alternative would mean that for 1 week you will have the house to do whatever you want and whatever you need, and we don't have that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest cons. But most people like, we have a beach, we live in Miami, so we have alternatives of like
Yeah.
uh, you know meeting people, not necessarily in the house, but like those other things that are available at, in our community.
Also, I think in our case, we're very supportive of one another. If someone is dating someone and they want to bring them, and at some point we can, we have many solutions as long as we have good communication and we talk about why we want to bring this guy over. How do we introduce them? If the kids meet them, what we say, what we do. I mean, we're very sensitive towards each other's needs, and we're very supportive. But we have an open conversation, and we think about the pros and the cons for bringing someone home. And sometimes we can bring someone and just have them at the beach and not coming specifically at home. There's a lot of solutions and ways for us to solve these things, but still keep this family together at in the same household, and still have some flexibility and freedom, but still obviously have the family together. I mean, everything has pros and cons and some of the costs, but by the end of the day, you're weighing the options and what's best for your family, what's best for your daughters, what's best for your kids. And obviously, at some point, we will, uh, you know, have this separated, two homes. But again, I think till then, also our girls were younger when we separated. Now they're older. They're used to the idea of us being apart. So I think it will be easier for them to digest separating at some point.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, it's very organic. Like you ease them uh, into the new life that we basically force on them. I think one of the biggest thing that we didn't talk about, which is super important when you have kids, we um, made them very clear, made it very clear to them that us living together, it does not mean that there is hope for for us to get back together. This is super important to make sure that this does not confuse them, right? So we told them this ended, this is final. Our relationship ended, and we choose to live together for these reasons. But it doesn't mean that we might get back together. We wanted to make sure that we are very very clear with not developing any hopes that will then break.
That's super important. And also, it's important that when I date someone, they they're afraid that if we still live together, that we might decide, what, let's just try it again and be together. I always say to whoever I date, there are two things sure in life. One is death, and second, I'm going to get back to you. No offense, but I think we're way better as friends. And I
It
want to
is
make
kind of
sure.
offensive, yes. Okay.
No, you know what I mean. I think we're great as friends, not as a couple. I think we, in the past 2+ years, we figured that out. But what I'm saying is that I don't want people to think I don't want to invest in this relationship, uh, and then all of a sudden, Eli will tell me, "Oh, I'm going back with Aiden." And I think it's important for them to understand that us living together doesn't jeopardize our new relationship.
Right.
And I think it's very, very important that we say that, because people who don't understand or have never seen something like this before, they don't know how to react to this, and it makes them feel very, like
Insecure.
insecure, for sure, insecure, and we need to come with a lot of security and a lot of confidence about what this is, and we need to educate them about exactly what are the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, and what are the reasons of us still having this specific situation.
Yeah.
So let's say now we have some listeners who just broke up, and they need to consider uh, maybe staying together. What do you think? What are the advice that you will give them in order to do it right?
If possible, and that's an advice that I give um, to any circumstances, not just this one. Try to reconcile. When you are in a good relationship with the person that you are sharing the house with, it's much easier, it's much better than anything else. Try to reconcile. Try. So in our case, we've been together for 20 years. We separated. We got a divorce because we had issues. It wasn't because everything was good. But for us to work, we needed to get into journeys, each one of us, to find to redefine our relationship and to find the good things about each other and really to forgive whatever issues that we had. So the key is if you have an option to reconcile and to have a good standing relationship between the two of you, that's my number one advice. That's always great. I'm always, looking for peaceful ways. Also in this case,
I think,
especially in this case.
but I think you also need to have clear boundaries. What are the expectations? Who's doing what? What are the rules of the house? Who you can bring, who you cannot, what time. I mean, we need to respect each other's spaces and each other's freedom, but also understand what are our responsibilities. So I think it's very important to talk about, okay, what are we doing? Especially when you have kids. If you do 1 week on, 1 week off, when are you with the kids? When are you? It needs to be very clear. Otherwise, you'll find yourself fighting again.
Yeah, and I would say I would piggyback on that, and I would say, and I keep on saying the same thing, I guess, with anything, with everything that we're talking about here on this podcast. Communication is key. Staying connected is key. You're allowed to fight. You're allowed to debate. It's fine, but appreciate the relationship that you do have, and find ways to stay connected, even if you are not in an amazing relationship at this particular moment. I would also say that one other key element that I think is super important is the openness, the open door policy. Even though we've set boundaries and agreements and so forth, it's always important for each other to feel comfortable coming in and say, you know what, let's revisit something. Let's talk about something. I have
Completely.
either I have a special case, either what we thought is good a month ago might not be
Yeah.
the best idea. So always allow the option to talk about things. We're also dynamic people.
Yeah.
We change. Me a month ago or 5 years ago is not the same as
Yeah,
me
we
today
need
or in.
we need to leave room for flexibility. For example, I remember when I had this, I wanted to do like this big trip to Australia, New Zealand. That was 3 weeks. I mean, you could say no, no, 1 week, 1 week, whatever. You could have said many things, but you accommodate that. You said, yo, you go, have fun,
I
I'll do
tally. I
well.
tally the days
Yeah,
that
yeah. You
you
tally the
you,
days.
you owe me 28
You know what I
days.
mean? So, yeah. You can be like that, but like I think it's really important to support each other and understand that sometimes there are certain circumstances that we need to be there for each other as friends, obviously as co-parents as well. But like, I mean, I don't. You have to leave room for flexibility. Again, as you said, things change, we change, circumstances change. A lot of things can happen. But I also think a lot of people who start, or decide to do that, need to also speak about the future. Is it a short term thing? Is it a long term thing? When are we going to revisit separating again? I mean, we need to keep that conversation open and set up the expectations. Not like leave things open ended because some people might say, okay, maybe we do this for a few months and then separate. I mean, every situation is different. Our situation, we knew it's going to be a little bit of a long term because we wanted to wait for the school year to end at least and then revisit things. So, but I think we need to take it in some increments and not necessarily saying, I don't know when this everything is going to be over. And I think it also needs to be revisited as well. Okay, so a lot of really interesting stuff here. Um, Obviously, you know that we're going to have a lot of more topics to tackle, from dating after divorce, long distance relationships, dating apps, dealing with dating and later in life. So many topics, and obviously we
Dating the
would love.
same pool of people.
Oh my God, yeah, just for gays, when you live in the
we have
same
some we have
city,
some
we have some juicy stories
some
ahead
some guest
and some guest stars
guest stars
of
coming.
and some juicy stuff. Yeah, but thank you again for listening. If you like this episode, go give us 5 stars and a good review. We would really appreciate that. Also, please share this podcast with anyone you think will find it useful and helpful. You can follow our podcast so you can be notified when we drop a new episode on every platform you listen to podcasts. If you listen on Spotify, feel free to comment what you think or ask us questions. We will answer if you ask us some questions. And if there's any topics you want us to tackle, please, please, please leave this in the comment and we will address it. We promise. We want to hear from you which topics you want us to tackle, and we will do that. You can also follow us on Instagram, direct message us there. Our handle is at We Are Better Together Apart, one word, at We Are Better Together Apart. And subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually see us recording this podcast. It is also called We Are Better Together Apart. And we hope you continue listening to our future episodes. We have a lot of interesting issues, as I said. And don't forget,
We
we
are
are
better
better
together
together
apart.
apart. Thank you guys. Till next time.
Thank you.